Hey, welcome to Mineral Talks Live, the weekly live webinar that brings you in-depth and in-person interviews with the mineral people from around the world. Mineral Talks Live is brought to you by a joint effort among the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, the Society of Mineral Museum Professionals, and Blue Cap Productions. Tune in every Wednesday and stay connected to your mineral world. Now, broadcasting live from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii, the land of aloha, ukuleles, and shakas, this is Mineral Talks Live. Hello to all our viewers out there today, and thank you for tuning into our show. Today is Wednesday, May 12th, 2021, and this is Mineral Talks Live. Mineral Talks Live is the weekly mineral talk show broadcasting to you live every Wednesday. I'm Brian Swoboda, the president of Blue Cap Productions, and together with my partners for whom I eagerly wake up early every Wednesday, Dr. Raquel Alonso Perez from the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, and Dr. Eloise Gaillou from the Society of Mineral Museum Professionals, also known as the SMMP. We want to welcome you to the show. Our goal in producing this program is to focus on bringing together all the different facets of our mineral world, from curators and curatrix to collectors, dealers, miners, researchers, artists, and the media that serve us all. We hope that in doing so, we show our audience the diverse little mineral world that we live in, and we give everyone a better perspective of what others do in this world. We invite you, the audience, to participate and interact with the show throughout the live broadcast. There are two ways in which you can do this, and both are located at the bottom of your screen in the form of buttons you'll see in your Zoom interface, right down there somewhere. The chat feature allows you to send messages to everyone watching and participating in the show. So when you first sign on, go ahead and fire off a chat message telling everyone where you're from. If you have thoughts, comments, or even a great knock-knock joke, this is where you can post it. Now, during the interview, my guests and I may not see all of your chat messages, but both Raquel and Eloise will be very active in those chats, so look for their comments and links. When appropriate, either Raquel or Eloise may address us directly with some of your questions, so if you have a question on what we're discussing, this is the place to ask it. Now, the second way to interact is with the Q&A function. This allows you to submit general questions that we'll try to answer at the end of the interview. Finally, at about 40 minutes into the program, you may see a window pop up on the screen asking a bunch of questions for our weekly poll. This is one of our favorite parts of the show, as it allows us to learn little small random facts about our guests. So for today, we're heading back yet again to our favorite mineral stomping grounds of Tucson, Arizona. This is one of the two home bases for today's guest. Yes, we're going to meet with a master of hard stone Intarsia boxes. What's Intarsia, you ask? Well, it's a form of inlaying where the artist takes contrasting sections of material and perfectly fits them together to create a mosaic-like pattern. Our guest today happens to use slices of minerals like azurite, rhodochrosite, turquoise, sugilite, and even gold-impregnated quartz to make some incredible boxes that will blow your mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to Mr. Nicolai Medvedev. Nikolai, how are you today?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Brian. And hello, audience. And I'm doing great today. We have beautiful weather here in Tucson, Arizona. And we're going to have a lot of fun. Today, I wanted to show later some really cool rocks that I'm using in my work. And of course, I will answer all the questions that people have.
Fantastic. Nikolai, thank you for being with us. You look fantastic. Let me start off. I always like to kind of turn back the clock a little bit. And I'm absolutely intrigued by the story about how people got started doing what they do. Now, I know that you studied art at the Art Institute in Moscow, but how did that lead you to start creating your wonderful boxes using kind of gem and stone material?
Let's start from the beginning. I started my art education when I was 12 years old. And I entered art school. And I studied art there, specifically art, for 4 years. And then after I graduated art school, I took exams, and I went into the art college. And I spent another 4 years studying art, oil paintings, drawings, and many other things that relate to the different art forms. And after that, I was traveling to Russia, to Moscow, and I was studying also for the next, well, at least almost 6 years. I was studying art in a very prestigious art institute in Moscow. Okay. And that was a very professional training and incredible knowledge that I received over these years, and in the meantime, I was visiting, some mineral museums in Moscow, and particularly one of them, the most famous, is Fersman Museum.
Absolutely.
And, that was kind of a very, it put very big impression on me, and I saw, first time probably in my life, I saw awesome mineral specimens that was on the exhibits there. And that was fascinating for me. And I learned a lot about from the nature that created all these beautiful things. And of course, the colors, amazing, rainbow of colors. And that kind of turned me, into the direction of learning more and try to acquire some rocks that I was able to try it myself with my own hands, basically, and that's how it started. And then, after, doing the 1980, I moved from the Soviet Union, I emigrated to the United States. And that was the first time when I was able to see a small kind of a sidewalk gem and mineral shows and flea markets and places like that. I even didn't know about the gem and mineral show that existed in Tucson, Arizona. And first time I visited Tucson, that was 1983. When I first time visited the show, and that's how it starts. Then I fell in love with the rocks, and I started acquiring them, based on my, financial ability, and I was able to get some equipments, and I tried to cut and polish them and come up with some ideas, very simple things in the beginning, because I wanted to do the test on some stones to understand them, to understand their characteristics and everything else relate to that. And gradually, it took years to develop my art form. Mm-hmm. And of course, over the years, I was able to acquire more and more beautiful rocks, and I met people at the shows that guided me, and explained a lot of things about the mineral world. And so that's how it all started.
Interesting. Now, so you moved here in 1980, and if my dates are correct, I think it was 1981 when Bob Jones wrote an article about you for Rocks and Gems magazine. Are my dates correct there?
That's correct. Yeah, that was the first time when actually article was written in Rock and Gem magazine by Bob Jones. And that's when first time I met Bob. I used to live in the state of New Jersey, and so Bob came over, and he interviewed me, and he wrote a beautiful article. I still have a magazine somewhere in my files. It's amazing, right. Beginning. We're still good friends with Bob. Bob is amazing, individual.
Bob is a wonderful, wonderful man, truly an icon of our industry. He's one of the hosts or one of the co-hosts for What's Hot in Tucson, and it's my absolute honor to be able to be working with him. And I can see the friendship sparking between you guys whenever we do an interview with you for What's Hot in Tucson.
Yeah, and I was lucky that in the recent years I met his son, Evan. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of also exciting, for me that, I share a lot of stories with him about his dad, that we spent time in.
That's always dangerous territory.
Now, it's all related to the gem and mineral business.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That's safe then.
Yeah.
Now, Nikolai, I know that you are I believe to date, you're the only living artist that had an exhibit at the Smithsonian Museum where Eloise used to be. And then after that exhibit, the Smithsonian actually acquired some of your boxes to be in their permanent collection. Is that correct?
Well, let me explain more in details.
Okay.
In 1991, I have a friend which was very unique. Unfortunately, he passed away. God bless his soul. He initiated the idea, for me to do the one-man show at the Smithsonian.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, there was, I was certainly, unknown, and I was kind of shy about everything. And I told him that I might not able to do that because this is a major national museum, and it was kind of scary for me, I guess, in the beginning.
Right.
And so there was a situation where basically the show, it took a while to decide because for the museum, the board of directors and everybody who was involved in that. That was kind of a complicated situation because they never done in the history of the United States, what I was told, they never done any one-man show for a living artist.
Right.
And so that was kind of a issue, but then, after all decision was made, to do the show. And so we start, putting things together. I was able to contact some collectors of my work, and they all, was welcome, to give their boxes on loan, and we assembled about over 80 boxes together, for the museum to choose, for the exhibit, and they choose 34 objects, for the exhibit. And, it took about 6 months to do the preparations for all the cases, all the brackets. I mean, there was so much details involved in that because it also has a educational angle, and that
Sure.
also was kind of exciting, to provide some information for people who not familiar with the gem and mineral industry, not professionals, but they love the rocks, they love the beauty of it, and they was able to see that when they visit the museum.
Well, that's quite an honor, and I'm really happy that it was you that was the first to have that done. Now, you have built some pretty good ties with some other museums, and one museum that I want to talk about in particular is the new U of A museum that's opening up in Tucson. You're heavily involved in there, and you have a wonderful showcase. Talk briefly about that, and then we're going to cut to some pictures of your exhibit at the museum.
Yes, just before we start that, I wanted to mention that the boxes that end up in the permanent collections in the museum, in different museums around the United States, the Smithsonian, collection, probably the largest, from all of them. I believe there's about 7 objects on the permanent collection. And all the boxes, as well as with the other museum, they was donated by the private collectors. So museums do not purchase the objects.
Gotcha.
They get donations, and so my boxes was donated over the years, and besides the Smithsonian National Museum, there's a museum in Los Angeles has in their collection my work. A GIA, museum has several pieces. Lysadre Museum of Lapidary Art that also has several of my objects, and also was very unique experience for me, to make. It was the first time in my life when the museum actually commissioned a box for the museum.
Wow.
And of course, it's a privately owned museum by Lysadre family. So I was able to make the box for them, that was specifically made for one of the members of their family. And they do have a tradition in the family that when one of the members passed away, so they do commission, usually art object, and the family donate that to the museum, basically, to commemorate that particular person. So that was the box that I made. It's called Memorial Box, and it's right now it's on a permanent collection at the Lysadre Museum.
Terrific. Now, what about how many boxes do you have on exhibit at the U of A, at the Alfie Norville Museum?
The Tucson, museum, it's a new museum. It's a very exciting, project, and it's incredible. I love it. And I have the 24 objects on the exhibit.
24 objects. Right? I'm going to cut to a photograph of your exhibit there, and maybe you can just describe it quickly, and then we're going to go shelf by shelf and look at the pieces here.
Mm-hmm. Well, the top painting there that you could see on the picture, that's one of my earliest, oil painting that I done in 1980. And I love a French Impressionism, and also Connecticut Impressionism. So that was a big influence on me, and I was kind of try to paint in that style. And this is I have still few, of the oil paintings in my collection. This is one of them. Then, on the upper shelf, we have several objects there. The one in the center, which is a malachite stalactite from South Africa. And I cut that stalactite many years ago. And unfortunately, the portion of that stalactite didn't grow by the nature. So I decided to make a base for that. And so that's what actually Intarsia base to kind of to match the beauty of that, and I did a combination of malachite, azurite malachite, and some sugilite, main kind of colors from my palette, typical palette of colors that I use. And it's actually, it's a sculpture, it's a specimen,
absolutely
sitting on the Intarsia base.
It truly is a great sculpture. And
then,
I know you've got some sculptures also.
On the left, it's a picture frame that it's a beautiful picture jasper from Tuscany, Italy. And I was able to acquire a collection, of these kind of pieces, and one of them, the best one from the collection, I wanted to use as a picture because it's such a distinctive landscape. They reminds me, beautiful kind of Arizona landscapes.
Absolutely.
And so I did the frame, made out of lapis, opal, and some malachite. And during that time, I discovered, the beauty of malachite comes from various parts of the world. But, I discovered that probably the most beautiful, it comes from Bisbee, Arizona. Mm-hmm. So I used that material, in that frame.
Nikolai, let me go on to the second shelf here. And sure. Now we're starting to see some of your incredible boxes here. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on the treasure chest in the center. So maybe you can just give us an idea of the time frame in which these boxes on the second shelf were made.
Mm-hmm. The treasure chest box was made I started about 3 years ago. It took about a year plus, to complete the project. And it's actually a collaboration with Susan Helmich. Susan, she lives in Colorado. She's an awesome jeweler. And I invited her into this project to do the gold work because I wanted to have a lot of gold work, over the outside as well as in the interior also. And so we was working for a little bit more than a year to complete the piece. And Susan did the beautiful octopus that's sitting on top of the box, holding some a pearl and holding the Colombian emerald. And there also what's unique about that, in the octopus also was insert 5, at least I remember, 5 emeralds that came from North Carolina. So I was lucky to buy some from a private collector, a collection that was available for sale at the time. So I used them, and I was impressed with the intensity of the color of the emerald. Because usually material that came from that location, it's kind of a very much pastel color. And this was a small stones, but they was just absolutely gorgeous in color.
Yeah, this is a great piece. This is a piece I filmed back in 2018.
Yeah, that box was exhibited at the Granada Gallery, I remember once, and I remember I also exhibit that briefly at the main mineral show.
That's exactly right. I think it was the same year. It was at the Granada first, and I filmed this at the Granada, and then after that, it was exhibited at the main show, and then it was put into What's Hot in Tucson. So
yeah, this box is what's unique about that I tried to use a lot of golden quartz. I love this material, and I use primarily material from California, which is beautiful, most beautiful in the world, in my opinion, and also some Australian material that also comes from Australia that kind of has a very nice, warm yellow, kind of a beautiful color in gold itself, with the white quartz background. This box is kind of I would say medium in size, but amazingly, when you lift the box, it feels very, very heavy because it has approximately about 18 ounces of gold there.
Amazing. Nikolai, I'm going to go down to the next shelf here, and the centerpiece of this shelf is a incredible box. Tell us about that.
This box that in the center, I call it a big garden box. This box was created, I started this in 1990. I'm sorry, yes, in 1990. And, when the show was coming up at for the Smithsonian exhibit, I wasn't even able to finish interior, but I wanted that box to be exhibited in the museum. So we exhibited that box without the hinge, without the interior, basically. But what's unique about this box, it has 3 different species of stalactites, and malachite stalactites from South Africa, Rhodochrosite stalactites from Argentina, and Azurite Malachite stalactites from Bisbee, Arizona. So
we see 2 of those stalactites on the top of the box here, and then the third stalactite are those kind of double eye designs on the sides there.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning, Brian.
Oh, no, I was just commenting to everybody that 2 of those stalactites that you mentioned, the Rhodochrosite and the Azurite Malachite, we see on the top lid here. And the third stalactite we see on the sides of the box that look like the eyes. Right,
that's correct. So there are 27 stalactites altogether. And there's a bottom of the base also, kind of, I wanted to light up all the colors, so I use a lot of opal. Australian opal was used to accommodate all that beauty and bring that beautiful intensity of colors.
Now, Nikolai, do you sketch this out on paper before you start designing, or do you just have it all as a mental picture?
Most of the time it comes from my mind, just kind of a mental picture, like you said. And in some cases, I do make sketches, especially when I work with a commission piece. So I have to communicate with the collector, and suggest certain things, and we're kind of going back and forth to design, the object, So I make the collector to be involved on some level to be a process, to be a part of the design. And so of course for that reason, there are some sketches need to be made, and in one case, I even built a model, that 1-to-1 in size, was to build a model, to accommodate the process of creating, and the one that we was working in a collaboration with Paula Crevasher.
Well, it's great that you mentioned that, Nikolai, because that was going to be my next box that I was going to show. And I want to say that this is potentially my favorite box, both because I love you and I love Paula, but also this is the box that I was first exposed to when I first met you, and you had it on display at the Granada Gallery, and we did a quick interview with you. But again, this is how I first met you, looking at this box. Tell us about this one.
Well, this is also was a project, kind of a very time consuming. And we collaborate with Paula, over the long time, to create this object. And it starts with the flower on the top that Paula created. And the piece itself consists of beautiful, Montana sapphires, and some yellow sapphires and some diamonds. And so I accommodate that as a design behind the flower, with the opal and some malachite from Arizona, also very beautiful chitoyant kind of a material that has that depth of color and dimensional. Then so in order for us to work, because Paula works, in New Mexico studio, and I work in Tucson studio, so we coordinate the process. In the beginning was difficult because both of us need have a precise measurements, because the movement was created, by one of the Paula's friends who did the movement for the birds. Because when you open the box, the birds actually kind of rises out of the box, so that was it's all hidden underneath of the box. You don't see it, but it's absolutely beautiful and very, very precise and complicated mechanism that was created just for that. And
Nikolai, I'm going to get to the next shot is the open box. It's the reverse angle of this. But I think one thing that's interesting to note, and it'll become apparent when we look at the next image, is the flower, which is a columbine flower. And by the way, I love the way that you inlaid the opal there to kind of really draw the eye directly to the flower. That is attached to the top of the box magnetically. So you could pull that flower off and you can wear it as a brooch. So now let me go to the next photo, and you can see the same flower there on the bottom left that has been removed from the lid as a brooch. And then now we see these hummingbirds and the ladybugs on the hinge. So go ahead and continue with your explanation here, please.
Well, you're right. The flower is removable, and we decide, not to make any kind of a mechanism to hold it, because it would be destructive for the flower itself, So we come up with the idea, to make that magnetic, attachment, and so there was in the construction of the lid, there was I remember at least 5 small size but very powerful magnets that was buried, underneath of the inlay work. And the flower also, in the back of the flower was designed also a mechanism that holding one magnet, which is basically when you place the flower on top of the box, so it's instantly, being kind of strong enough, being attached, by magnetic forces, and it has no any other extra parts in between. So also in the process of opening up the box, the flower could remain, on the top of the box, and it wouldn't slide off or fall off, because the magnet's so strong to hold it together. And on the interior, there was also a different type of, I call it a stop part, that kind of a holding lid in a particular position when you open the box. So that, as you could see in the center, there's a mechanism, but it was covered with a few ladybugs. And the ladybugs made out of coral and black diamonds. All materials that being used in this box, they're all natural materials. Yeah. And so when you open the box, the way that the ladybugs was attached, so they have some movement also. So that's kind of unique. It gives that feeling that we are kind of in a garden, where you could see all these garden creatures, all these different insects and different. The birds, of course, was designed, by Paula, that the hummingbirds, that kissing hummingbirds, that kind of gives that feel of freedom and beautiful kind of a garden feeling. When you in the you feel that you are connected to the nature. Absolutely. And the picture on the lid, on the interior, it's actually It's a tiger eye from Australia. It's unusual kind of a piece that has beautiful chitoyancy there. And under the particular light, it shows like it looks like it's a waterfall, and you get kind of into this valley with the waterfall and beautiful, surroundings, So it's also kind of gives you that feeling you're somewhere in the middle of the garden somewhere.
And one thing I love about this that may not be apparent to people is that as you close the lid, the inside of the lid never makes contact with the hummingbirds. If you look at the bottom of that post that's holding the hummingbirds, you can see what kind of looks like a hinge. But as you close the lid, the hummingbirds fold down to the left. And so they never make contact with the inside of that lid. So they fold down, and then when you open the lid, they come up. And it's just an incredible, incredible piece of work. Such precision, such beauty. And Nikolai, I want to say that all of the sapphires on the hummingbirds are Montana sapphires. Is that correct? Or am I just making stuff up?
I'm not sure, but there are various gemstones there, and I guess we have to ask Paula. Paula, she's the creator of that, so she knows precisely all the materials that are involved in the birds. It's made out of 18 karat yellow gold. And there are some sapphires, there are some diamonds, and some multiple different colors of different gems, basically. And yes, mechanism is, very precise and functional. So when you close the lid, so the birds, they kind of are going, to the left, and they are laying down on the interior of the box. And again, when you open them, the lid, then the birds coming out from the bottom of the box, And I have to mention that about the magnet, the idea came from Martin. Martin is, he's incredible, in that sense. I mean, he come up with this idea that we use, and we both love it. It works great as
That's
far
Martin
as
Bell, Paula's husband.
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Can I interject and may ask a question, if you don't mind, Nikolai? I have a few questions coming in. The first obvious question is, how do you put those pieces together? Do you glue them in a certain way? Do you use a special material, or do you use nothing? Or how does it stand together? How does it keep together?
Yes, I do use glue, and I use primarily, two type of glue. When I do some assembly of the panel, for example. So the little pieces, little slivers that I was cut previously, they need, of course, to be clean. I usually clean them with acetone, that they don't have any kind of any oily or any kind of a greasy parts on them, So they're being clean before they're being glued together, And I use crazy glue to assemble that. And it's a very tricky, because crazy glue dries very fast in a matter of just a few seconds, So you have to be very precise. So I have to be preparing myself, I have to tune in physically, I practice on some things, and then, once I get into the actual piece, I feel more confident, because you only have one chance, to glue two pieces edge by edge, and they're very thin. They approximately 1 millimeter, maybe 1.5 millimeter in general. Sometimes I use a little bit thicker materials like Rhodochrosite because it retains better color when it's thicker. So the assembly starts with the crazy glue, that allow me, to assemble the panel in a particular way that it starts to grow from the center out. And it depends how many pieces involved in a panel. Could be only few, but could be a few hundred sometime. Like the box that we just recently saw, a big garden box. In order to assemble that, I roughly calculated about 3,600 pieces, put it together to create that one object. Wow. And of course, when the panel is assembled, then, I have to, grind it down, level it, and shape it off into the particular shape that's necessary. And then after it's all prepared, and completed, then, I'm ready to attach that to the body of the box. And then I use epoxy, to attach it permanently to the outside panel. And the actual box is constructed, depends on the project. Sometimes, I use granite, sometimes I use marble. Marble particularly important. I use white marble, for to retain the color, like for material like rhodochrosite. Rhodochrosite is very sensitive color-wise. So if anything that would be dark behind, it would change the color of rhodochrosite. So it must be used only white material.
And this is for the actual box itself, because I didn't understand that until before we started preparing for this interview. But I always assumed there were wooden boxes, but I didn't realize that they are marble granite boxes.
Yeah, they are. It's a main stone that when I engineer the body, and in some cases I use even hard baked ceramics, because the ceramic is lighter than stone, and sometimes certain areas, like with the treasure chest box, which is a curved surface. So in order to connect the panel to the body of the box, it has to be created a particular shape of the body. And of course, that space in between, I don't want to use a lot of glue, because glue has ability to soften if it's a lot of it. So basically, I use some ceramics, hard-baked ceramics, to compensate to fill out the spaces,
the gaps
between the actual body and the actual inlay. So it's only very little layer of glue in between, which is produce a better bond. And also, it's important, in the sense that the lid of the box has to be lighter than the bottom of the box. So for the bottom of the box, I use more heavy material like granite, for example, which is, make the bottom is more stable. So when you open the lid, it wouldn't tilt over, So for that reason, the lid itself has to be created, a bit lighter than the bottom. And the ceramics in that case works great.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Nikolai, let's jump to another box here. This is another one of my favorite boxes, just
and
because
Brian, at the same time, just something quickly, if you could unveil the size of the boxes, that would be wonderful. For example, the size of the previous boxes that you showed already.
Okay, so Nikolai, the question is, what is the size of the crevichet box?
I would say approximately, it's about 5.5 inches from corner to corner. And I'm not sure how tall, but I would say it's about 4.5 inches tall, probably not counting the flower.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Nikolai, let's talk about this box. This is the Cathedral Box. And another one of my favorites, just because I saw it in its early phases. So tell us a little bit about this box.
Well, this box was kind of a very unique for me to try. One of the reasons, I love the dinosaur bone, as a species. It's a fossil, and I was able to acquire, from Utah collector, very unique pieces. Very intense in color, and that gives me idea, to create a fairly large size box that would accommodate that size panels, dinosaur slices.
Now, Nikolai, just so that sorry for interrupting, but just so that the viewers are clear, the dinosaur slices are the red stone that we see inlaid in the box.
That's correct. Yes. And they are through the box. You could see some reddish brownish, material. That's also dinosaur bone. So because of the size of the panels, it dictated me in general, the size of the box. As minimum, it has to be that large. And so the interior, has also Italian picture jasper from Tuscany. And I framed that with the malachite from Arizona. That's a Bisbee, Arizona material, beautiful chitoyancy. And all the interior, eventually, after I finish the exterior, usually in the box, because it goes through various stages. It goes through the water and somewhat being abused in the process.
Mhm.
So after it's all completed and polished and clean, then I could start, working with the interior. So I finished of course, the hinge has to be attached first to connect the bottom and the lid together, and then I veneer that with the variety of different woods, exotic woods. I don't remember all of them. I use like over 50 different varieties from various parts of the world. And to finish the interior, basically, it gives nice kind of a warm feeling, and the wood is being polished and then is being waxed with the bee wax. That it brings out the color of the wood, and it's also prevent wood from being warping, because depends on the environment, like the East Coast or California coast, sometime, we have a moisture there. So the bee wax protect the wood from absorbing the moisture and it doesn't get warped.
Now I'm going to go to a shot of the lid of this box and tell us again, what is the size of this? What's the width of the overall box there?
It's well, I have it in front of me actually. It's about 9.5 inches in size.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, can you show it to us?
Oh yeah.
It's a large and it's heavy, because the base actually was designed, also because of the size of the box. The base designed out of granite, and it's heavy. I don't know how many pounds, but its weight probably, I would say, about 15, 18 pounds at least.
Well, what I'm gonna share with the viewers is that we did an interview in What's Hot in Tucson 2020 with Nicolai, and he had that cathedral box, and it's called the Cathedral Box because it was kind of an homage to the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris there. And so he had it on exhibit at the TGMS show, and so Bob interviewed him talking about the box. But also the year previous, in 2019, I was lucky enough to go to Nicolai's studio there in Tucson with Dave, Kathy Waisman, and Patrick Dreher, and we were able to see that box before it was finished. And so if you go to that URL that is in the chat comments and is also showing on the screen, you can watch that segment and you get to see kind of the cathedral box before it was finished in Nicolai's studio. So that was really a fun thing. Nikolai, maybe we can go back to you and you can pick up your phone and show us the cathedral box live.
Okay, we'll do that.
And if he disconnects, then Raquel's going to sing for us for the next 15 minutes.
Right. Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. This is the actual box that we just talked about. That's a cathedral box. It was challenging for me, to construct the panels, and the design, the shape of the box. So I traveled to Paris several times to study the actual, the Notre Dame Cathedral, and all the engineering that was done by the people in the past, and that was, for me, was a fascinating, experience to study that. And I used some of those techniques, at least I tried, in the constructing of the box. And some images also that kind of gives that gothic kind of a feeling, in some of the panels. And Dinosaur Bone, kind of gives the feeling of the ancient, it's an ancient material. We're talking about, millions of years in existence. And, materials like Sugilite gives that beautiful, kind of a color that, it's all the colors that there that gives that very unique emotional feeling, in my opinion. At least I tried. and some azurite panels that gives me also kind of an idea of using material to its best. Basically, it's two different colors, blue and green, and like this panel particularly has a very unique scene. It's look like a night sky with the moon.
Oh yeah, fantastic! I love that.
And it's a beautiful, amazingly beautiful, the blood cell formations in the dinosaur bone itself.
I'm just fascinated by that. Even when you showed us that originally, I was blown away by that. That is just such incredible material.
Yeah, to see that in real life, it's quite impressive. Yes, I am kind of preparing this piece for the next exhibit. When I'm going to be invited next time to exhibit somewhere in the museum, so this box definitely would be one of my favorite, to include.
Well, I think Harvard and the Paris School of Mines would both love to have you exhibit there. No bias, of course. Hey, Nikolai, while we're kind of looking at things in your studio, I want you to have a chance to talk about the projects that you're currently working on. And there's one that to me is amazing because it's kind of the next step in the evolution of the Medvedev art form. It's the Golden Quartz Box, the idea. So can you go over to that part of your office and show us those pieces? And maybe Raquel can also throw the survey up at the same time while we're transitioning over there. So Nikolai, if you see a screen come up, just ignore it if you can.
Yeah, hold on for a second, Brian. I wanted to get the flashlight this way I could show more light with some materials that would be better seen.
Perfect. And so just so that people understand, there were like we saw in the treasure box, we saw Nikolai use these slabs of quartz that has gold impregnated in it. And we have photographs of it here. And he has this incredible idea that I fell in love with for a box that he would love to develop. So Nikolai, why don't you take it from there and give us the lowdown on that?
Okay, so here we go. This is some materials that I use, for various projects, that coming up projects. One of them, like this one here, it's a tourmaline. I don't know the origin of it, but it was carved in Ida Rubberstein. And this is an upcoming project that I will start for a private collector sometime in the spring of the next year. And the butterfly that you could see, it's an Azurite Malachite that's also going to be used as a panel on the front of the box. So that's one of the upcoming projects. And some of this material, like this Azurite that from Bisbee, Arizona, this material also going to be used for another project. And I hope that this piece produced, based on the shape, it could produce a pair of butterfly wings after I cut it. So I'm just hoping that will come out, just like that. And as you mentioned, my main project that I, working on now for a number of years already, is going to be a Golden Quartz Box. And this particular specimen, which is from California, it's a crystallized gold. And that specimen is going to be used on the interior of the box. It become a part of the landscape. That would be shown, a picture, Jasper, and this specimen would be on the left side, and then the bottom would be used some gold nuggets, to have some look like a rocks, and I'm going to use some malachite to have some green kind of a grass on the bottom of the landscape. So it's a very, very unique project in my opinion, and it took me years and years, of course, to accumulate some of the gold that I was able to select from over the years, the best pieces that I put aside for that particular project. And, I was able to accumulate so far approximately about 64 ounces of gold, that goes into this box, but not enough. I calculate that it probably takes a bit over 100 ounces to complete the design, because mainly it's going to be gold panels and, of course, accommodated and accented by Sugilite, lapis, some turquoise, and various other malachite, of course. So it's going to be a very colorful, in a sense, project, but mainly it's going to feature gold in this box, which I done in some cases on the smaller projects was like a test, but this is a major, major piece. And so I'm excited, to start that. And,
I can't wait to see it. To me, the real cutting edge thing here is, for the first time in your box, you're going to take a mineral specimen and kind of leave it in its three-dimensional form as you see it right there, and incorporate that into a box. We've never seen anything like that before. In terms of a mineral specimen,
out on the table this way, that I could show you more, would be more understandable. Okay. As far as how it's going to be look like, at least on the interior of the box.
Oh, and this is exciting. I've not even seen this before. So you viewers are in for a huge treat. Is that your lunch? Are those apples there?
No, this is actually a white agate, and I use that specifically. This is very important, Brian. This white agate, going to be used underneath of every gold panel to bring out the gold and to continue to keep the quartz white. So the white material is absolutely necessary. So this is some of the material that so far, that I have, at least here in the studio. And this is going to be very unique panels. They're very large pieces. I was amazed when I first saw this. They're like approximately about 4 inches in size, each of them, with a very high concentration of gold. And so basically, this is going to be the interior of when you open the box. So it's going to be approximately look like, so we have a picture, Jasper, here with the beautiful landscape.
Oh, I love it.
And on the left, the specimen going to be attached. Of course, it's not going to be cut or altered by any means. It has to remain as absolutely a perfect specimen. And so it's going to be attached to the left side. That kind of make the continuation of the landscape, kind of like a mountains with some tree growing, on the top of that. And then the bottom is going to be a few different nuggets, kind of like a bank of the river. And the bottom is going to be added some malachite to create some grassy kind of areas. So that's the basics of the interior.
I love it. I love it. You have a whole story there. It's a mountain of gold that a prospector has found in the desert. Yeah,
I was amazed that I wish I could see this piece when it was just found. This is this size is amazing. And the gold concentration is awesome. This is probably like 60-70% of the gold in the rock. And also what's unique about this particular golden quartz. The quartz here is not pure snow white. It's actually has that translucency. And what it does basically, when you look at the, right now we can see it, but when you look at the polished surface, eventually when it gets polished, so you could see below the surface in the quartz areas. And, the gold actually, it has that awesome crystallization there. So you would be able to see the crystals, below the surface. So that's what makes unique this particular gold.
I love it. I love it. Those panels kind of give you a sense of three-dimensionality, because as you say, you can actually look into them and you can see elements of the gold inside the quartz. And to combine that with an actual 3D specimen on the inside of the lid, again, I'm the first one to say it. This is the next evolution of your art form.
It's also not just a flat, it's a three-dimensional as well. So that's kind of makes it more interesting, I think. And there's a variety of gold here. This is primarily, this is California gold and some material from Australia. Like this material, this is Australian gold, kind of has that antique look. I cleaned some of it, there was iron stains, but I cleaned some with the acid. So it's kind of become more presentable. Wonderful. And some of the material, has interesting gold formations in the quartz itself. This is also Australian, specimen. Very kind of interesting. The design, the nature design is so unique, and I kind of wanted to use that as well. So I want to use variety of different kind of a gold from various locations, primarily, Australia and California. And this is the best pieces that over the years, I was kind of putting aside, for that particular project.
That would be amazing. Nikolai, we're kind of starting to come to the end of the show here, but I want to talk about one more piece. For that, I'm going to pull up a picture where we go into your workroom here. And here we see some of the elements of a ring box that you are currently working on.
Yeah, this is a small project, what they call a ring box. It's only about 2.5 inches in size approximately. And, I just started this project about 2 months ago. That was commissioned by Paul Harter. And, so we, kind of in communication, because of the project kind of require some specifics as he requested. Like, for example, he wanted to have a beautiful rhodochrosite stalactite on the top of the box. And so that was the beginning of the top of the box, and I surround that with the various materials, like some of it's malachite from Arizona. Then we have a turquoise also from Arizona, Sleeping Beauty, and golden quartz is from California. So this is eventually going to be framed, I'm not sure yet, but possibly in malachite or maybe even lapis. I didn't decide that part yet. And that would complete the lid. And then what we see here on this picture, we see the back of the box on the left. And there are some panels that I am still, in the process of assembly, kind of a bow tie, looking, pieces that would be on the side of the box. And this is the front panel, as you could see on the right side of the picture. So, and the top, of course, is going to be the stalactite.
Nikolai, incredible work as always. I mean, I can't wait to see some of these new boxes that are in development. But we are coming to the end of the show, and so we're coming to the section where I've got 5 questions for you. This is what we call our quick fire 5 questions. We've asked the audience all of these questions, and they've already responded. All of your answers are correct. We're just seeing how well the audience knows you. So you can have a seat, you can turn the camera around, and are you ready for the 5 questions?
Sure.
Okay. Question number 1. Vodka or margarita?
It depends on the meal.
Okay. What is your favorite meal? Is that one of the questions? No. Okay. What's your favorite meal?
Well, vodka is kind of, I don't really drink vodka. I have the vodka in my home, but, I keep it for the guests mainly.
Okay. So we're going to go with margaritas there.
Can you turn the camera around?
Hey, Nikolai, could you turn the camera around? We're getting a picture of, I'm not quite sure what that is. Maybe your foot.
Let's see now.
We want to see your smiling face. There it is. Okay. So first question, we're saying that you're saying margaritas. Okay. Question number 2, New Jersey or Arizona?
Of course, Arizona.
Arizona. Question number 3, next vacation, Hawaii or Colorado?
Definitely Hawaii. Well, Colorado is going to be, I usually travel there for September, show. So that's
Right.
Hopefully that will be happening, and I'm looking forward to be there.
Hard Rock Summit. We got our fingers crossed. Okay. Question number 4, fun travel, flying by helicopter or riding a hog? And that means riding a motorcycle.
Yeah, a helicopter would be my choice. I just did actually helicopter ride in Sedona about a few weeks ago. I took my son there for his birthday, and he never saw Sedona. And of course, he never took a helicopter ride. So it was a thrilling experience for both of us, actually.
Absolutely. That's actually how I came up with the question. I saw the pictures you posted on Facebook. And so for anyone who is not friends with Nikolai on Facebook, look him up, and you're definitely going to want to add him. Final question, number 5, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea.
I'm a tea man. I love tea. Every morning, I start my morning with the tea. I put a slice of lemon, and I put a spoon of honey, and I take some bee pollen also. Every day I do that. To keep my immune system strong, and I use a lot of bee products actually, but I love tea, green tea. That's my favorite.
That's great. We need you around for a long time. So keep up with the tea, keep up with the green pollen. And I just learned this morning that you don't drink coffee at all. So
no, I don't. Well, I do occasionally when I travel, because especially when I go to Europe, it's a big time change, and you want it to be kind of a staying up, waking up. I get sleepy during afternoon, so I do have some coffee occasionally, just for that reason.
Gotcha. Well, I love coffee. I drink coffee, but I also love tea. And so during the shows, I'm often drinking tea in my tea mug that's now cleverly branded with Mineral Talks Live sticker. And this was courtesy of Eloise. Thank you, Eloise. Appreciate that. Okay. And Eloise, going to the answers of the viewers. Are you ready?
I am.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Question number 1, vodka or margaritas? Nikolai said margaritas. What did our audience say?
We got vodka here, so wrong.
Trick question. Question number 2, New Jersey or Arizona? Nikolai predictably said Arizona. What did our viewers say?
Yes, Arizona, yes. 96%. That was an obvious one, but well done.
Excellent.
Still.
Excellent. Next vacation, Hawaii or Colorado?
I think everybody wants to go to Hawaii. That's why the viewers to the Hawaii mostly.
Everybody. Everybody come, but you got to take your COVID test before you get on the plane. And we have to the Mineral Talks Live group meeting here. So Eloise, Raquel, come. Okay, question number 4, fun travel, flying by helicopter or riding a hog?
Helicopter, and I completely agree with you on that one for sure.
Good deal. And final question, coffee or tea? Nikolai.
And we got tea. We got tea.
That is 4 out of 5. I would say our readers know Nikolai pretty well. Let's go to the Q&A section. Raquel, are you participating today, or are we going to go with Eloise?
I think Eloise should carry on with the questions because she has been doing them before. So
that's right. And Raquel's still recovering from her birthday weekend hangover. So, Eloise, do we have questions for Nikolai?
Yes, and you might hear my cat on the background. I'm sorry about that. Adolfo has a question. How do you cope with malachite's toxicity in the boxes? Is there any problem?
Well, I use a mask. That's for sure. I use mask, continuously through the whole day. And also, I wash my hands several times during the day because there's some dust, and some mud accumulates, and it could penetrate even through the skin. So I use it quite often, and I walk for a couple hours, and then I stop and I go, and I take a shower, or I, wash with the soap my hands, because malachite is very toxic, and inhaling is very bad for you. You could develop, lung cancer probably, But I was very careful all these years. So far, I was surviving, all these years. I use a lot of malachite over the time, but, I protect myself very, very carefully. I use, double or triple mask. And like
Excellent.
I said, I wash my hands very often.
Great. So Abby had a question regarding the gold in quartz. How do you cut this quartz without damaging the gold? Because gold is very soft compared to quartz. So is there a special method that you use?
When I acquire the gold, usually, I ask people, who sell it to me, like Australians, for example, that they would Opticon the surface. So that helps, to keep it together, between gold. Gold is a metal and the stone is a stone. So the connection is there, but not quite well connected, like stone together with the stone, for example. So it could separate in the process of cutting, so that for that reason, Opticon is being used while I'm cutting the material. So after material is being cut, sliced, then Opticon is being removed, and I use acetone to remove that eventually. And sometimes gold needs to be treated like with the acid, for example, to remove some iron stains, which is not so pretty in some cases. So I wanted to have a beautiful white, snow white quartz and just pure yellow gold.
As a following up question, Abby is asking, what kind of Opticon do you use? Just a quick.
I really don't know. I don't use it myself, because I ask people who actually involved with that process, because they are professionals and they do that, in a particular way that I wouldn't know how, basically, so I couldn't answer that question correctly. But I know that it helps, to hold it together while I'm cutting it.
Okay, I see. There's another question. I didn't really understand it well. So, are the thin, straight section ground on the flat lap? Does that make sense to you?
That's correct. Yes, I use flat lap. And
what is it?
Of course,
what is it in first
it's
place?
being held by hand, and has to be very careful and with a lot of precision, because especially working with the gold, the diamond lap, what it does, it grinds the rock, quartz, for example, but at the same time, it's while it's grinding the gold, it's also pulling it. It just I don't know how to explain exactly viscosity of the metal itself. Yeah, and that could pull some sections, completely out. So you have to be. I use very, very sharp, usually brand new lap, for that purpose. This way that it would be very sufficient cutting without pulling it. And of course, after I use for days, cutting and shaping, so I don't throw the mud, so I collect the mud and I do gold panning myself after that, to recover the lost gold that actually went into the mud. It's a very expensive material, so you don't want to waste it into the trash.
But seriously, if people have more questions, I see a few more very specific questions that we are having. So very precise questions. Is it possible that people can send those questions to you through Facebook or something, Nikolai?
Sure.
Because it's very specific questions. So like, what kind of varnish do you use and things like that? So I'd rather you answer this question with very specific.
Sure, absolutely. Everyone is welcome with their questions, and I would be glad to answer any question, technical or artistically or any otherwise, whatever.
Well, let's answer the last questions then. That's perfect. Thank you very much, Nikolai. And we have a lot of fabulous works, best program to date, a lot of congrats, wonderful, amazing. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was a great pleasure to be, and here, on this, particular, project, and to share with people, all the things that I was able to create in the past. And I hope people will enjoy it, and, it's something that, for generations to come to enjoy.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, Nikolai, we're so happy that you can come on the show with us today. And thank you for sharing everything, especially the projects that are coming up. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And so for your viewers out there, tune into Blue Cap's YouTube channel tomorrow, and we are going to be releasing episode 44 with Shelley Sargent. That's curatrix of Somewhere in the Rainbow. And I know some of you are going, hang on, you made that same announcement last week. And I did, and I realized it was an error because last week we released episode 43, our interview with Alex Spear, who's a senior fellow at the MSA. So apologize to Alex and to everybody for the mix-up, but Alex's interview came out last week. Shelley's interview will come out tomorrow. And that, again...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. No, she's a wonderful, wonderful lady. We had so much fun doing that. And so that'll be live tomorrow on the Blue Cap Productions YouTube channel. And for all of you viewers, tune in next week. I'm going to sit down with Rui Galopim, and he is a gem education consultant out of Lisbon or Lisboa, Portugal. That's Wednesday, May 19th. And Rui was actually one of the prime influencers that helped us put this show together. It was Raquel and Eloise who were trying to convince me to do the show. I wasn't sold on it until I attended one of his programs, and that changed everything. So we're thrilled to have him on the show, give us a little bit of background, and for us to publicly acknowledge and thank him. So for all of us here at Mineral Talks Live, thank you, Nikolai, and thank you all of your viewers for tuning in. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you next week. Take care. Mahalo.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, and have a nice day. And everybody have a nice day.
Well, that was a wonderful interview. Thank you again, Nikolai, for coming on our show. For those viewers at home, I know we made reference to the video and we showed you the URL on how you can watch that video of the interview that Bob Jones did with Nikolai and What's Hot in Tucson 2020. So we're going to include the video at the end of this program. So if you stay tuned, you're going to watch that. And then immediately after that, I decided to add a video interview that Dave Wilbur did with Nikolai back in What's Hot in Tucson 2018. And this is when Nikolai was in the Granada Gallery, and he had some boxes on display, and we focus on that jewel box that he created with Paula Crevichet. That's the one with the columbine on the top, and you open it up and you see the hummingbird. So in the second clip, you're going to see all of that happen live, because I know we described it, but I think nothing comes close to actually seeing it in person. So stay tuned, watch those videos, and again, thank you to Nikolai for coming on the program, and I hope you continue to enjoy all the fine work of Nicolai Medvedev. Take care.
Nikolai Medvedev, longtime friend. So good to see you again.
Good to see you,
This
Bob.
is wonderful.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
You know, you folks have to know this. When this man started in his work, I did the first magazine article ever on his work. And
Yeah, that was 1981, Bob.
What's that?
1981.
That far back?
Yeah.
You're not that old, are you?
Well, I'm getting there.
Yeah. But, you know, from the boxes that he made then, which were very nice, he has improved so much that he produces gorgeous things like this. This is a phenomenal piece. I sort of half asked, how long did it take you, or how many hours did it take you to do this? And he looked funny at me and he said, 5 years. So tell me about this, and the pieces that are in it.
This project was a long-term project for me, and I dedicated this box to Notre Dame Cathedral.
Really?
That Catholic cathedral in Paris.
Uh-huh.
And so I traveled there a few times, to study the engineering of the stonework that was
Really?
out there over 1,000 years ago. And was inspiring for me to create object like this, to experience that stonework, to be put it together, that would be very unique engineering.
Yeah, in their own way, those engineers were really excellent.
Right. And they didn't have, back then, they didn't have a diamond tools or anything like that.
Yeah.
And also, it was very interesting for me to experience that spiritual, feelings that this place has.
That's wonderful.
And I wanted to kind of to transform that into my project,
New York.
that would be
Okay.
relate to some of the minerals that came from various locations.
Yeah, I know there's
And,
minerals from everywhere here.
Right, like Dinosaur Bone, which is, I wanted to feature the best quality of the Dinosaur Bone, which is from Utah.
Okay.
And also Azurite Malachite, which is from Arizona. Mainly it's a Bisbee location.
Yeah.
Then we have here Golden Quartz, which is from California.
All right.
Then we have some turquoise. Turquoise also from Arizona. I love Arizona minerals, because I wanted to use them just in about every project. And also we have here Sugilite. Sugilite is from South Africa. I use it for color, to my kind of a typical, my palette of colors that Sugilite fits very well. It's all strong colors, and I want to make sure that they are well balanced color-wise, and also they not competing, they complement each other. So that was my challenging, task to do it, and here's the results after.
That's an evidence of a true artist, because you want to get balance in your colors and a variety of stone, and you've done a marvelous job of making this. Wonderful.
Correct.
5 years, huh?
Yes.
My goodness
that
gracious.
took quite a while.
So at this point, assembly is not fully complete. So this area, is separated, yet it's not attached. It will eventually going to be attached permanently. Same thing, this part, it's also, not attached, so that, I will demonstrate you the interior, so I have to take this part off. This particular piece, as we discussed earlier, just a little covering the hole that actually, not so attractive and destructive for me when I'm working. The box itself features dinosaur bone. It's a fossil, and it's the best material that I ever came across of the dinosaur bone.
And that's this red part here.
Well, you see this reddish brown, it's all dinosaur bone. White is a golden quartz. There's a turquoise here. Azurite, I also feature azurite here quite a few places.
I like the real subtle band of turquoise.
Yeah, you can just see it right there, very, very thin.
Separate the redness with the white.
And here too? Same, right?
Yes, it's a turquoise. Sleeping Beauty mine from Arizona. Azurite, of course, from Arizona. All this azurite. The corners, azurite here, and quite a few places. On the top here also. And this is azurite also. Well, let me show you the interior, so get ready for this.
Dun, dun, dun. Wow. Oh.
Look at that.
So that's the interior, and it has a picture jasper from Italy, Tuscany, and it's framed with a white material. It's a fossilized shell that I brought from Caribbean islands. And green is a malachite from Bisbee, it's Arizona. And the purple, lay there, it's a Sugilite from South Africa. And this material right here, this color, kind of a grayish, greenish, it's a copper ore from Michigan. So it's a matrix and how the speckles of copper that was created by the nature, so I just cut it and polish it, But again, copper is at some point oxidized. It was more brighter, but now it's a little bit dull.
Since 1991, your work has become so popular, it appears in many, many museums, like Yale University Museum and Lazadro Museum in Elmhurst, Illinois.
As you mentioned, Bob, in 1991, I did the first one-man show at the National Museum at the Smithsonian.
Wow.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was very exciting, and there was gathered, maybe like almost 40-something objects from private collections, and they was chosen to be on the exhibit, and I had the exhibit there for about 2.5 years, and I was told by Jeffrey that there are 10 million people visit the exhibit.
My gosh, Jeff Post, he's in charge of the area.
Yes, he's the curator of the Smithsonian. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a pleasure to see you evolve into one of the great artists in our country, and I appreciate your friendship.
Well, thank you, Bob, and I certainly appreciate our friendship, and thank you very much for writing the first article about me in 1981. That was a lot of history back then.
I didn't know I was going to make you famous. Just kidding.
I didn't know either.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Bob. So enjoy the show, and
I will
continue to do what we do.
And I enjoy your work so much. Wonderful.
Are done by an artist, Nicolai Medvedev, which I'm sure you've heard of before. And we're really happy to feature him this year in the gallery.
Wow.
And he had the chance to come over and talk to you.
Oh, how nice. You made this.
Yes, I made this in the past 37 years. I'm working in this kind of art form that called gem art Intarsia.
Yes.
And I use natural stones.
Yes. So you got lapis, malachite, you've got gold. What karat gold is that?
This is all in 18 karat gold.
18 karat.
Yes. And the gems is like this particular piece, the flower. It's a columbine flower.
Yes.
And it's consists of yoga sapphires, which is a rare location.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And of course, as you mentioned, there's a lapis here, there's a malachite, opal.
Oh yeah, look at the fire opal. I see. Yeah, okay.
Stalactites, cross sections.
Oh yeah, rhodochrosite.
And of course, that light blue, it's turquoise from Sleeping Beauty mine from Arizona.
Wow.
That's one of my favorite stones.
Oh, it's a wonderful thing.
And the flower itself is removable, and it could be used as a piece of jewelry.
Yeah, look
like
at that.
a necklace.
Yes.
Or a pin.
Yes.
It's have the design that basically make that
a magnet.
to be yes,
very
the magnet
good
is holding
idea.
Actually that it would stay in the box.
You see that?
A specific, also the magnet that hold it all together. So
very
this way,
good.
when it's easy to remove and put it back.
Right.
But at the same time, when I would demonstrate the interior of the box, so you could see that the flower will stay there.
Very good. Oh, it's popping.
It's not going to fall.
That's so cute.
Yes. And this
is that is wonderful.
So we have here 2 hummingbirds, which is all the jewels was made by Paula Crevasher. She's a jewelry designer.
Wow.
And we worked for many, many years together, and this is our latest project that we probably took about almost 2.5 years to complete.
Wow.
And finally, it's all in one piece. It's complete.
It's
so
absolutely magnificent.
Some Sapphires.
Yeah, look at that. The color. Yeah, I see the colors. Holy cow.
And
that is
the back,
what's the back
there?
there?
A little ladybugs, which is made out of coral.
Okay.
And they are black diamonds set into that.
Would
to
you
repeat
believe
that nature, look in the ladybugs.
It's fabulous.
And
how long did it take you to make it approximately? Altogether?
Well, this particular project took about 2.5 years to complete.
Fantastic.
From the beginning, from the design, from the sketch, to the complete finish.
Fantastic.
About 2.5 years.
Well, congratulations. That's a beautiful thing. You can be proud of that, and I'm sure you got thousands of compliments on that.
Well, yes, quite a few.